So it's come to my absolute attention that before this day ends, I might as well make this video. This video is obviously going to have to talk about the back and forth that's going between two of the best bantamweight fighters in the world right now. I'm talking about the former champion TJ Dillashaw, also the cheater, who was suspended for about 2 years or so, and now is back in the UFC. He did get a win over Corey Sandhagen in a very close, contested fight, and also the former interim champion, basically the real champion in the bantamweight division, Petr Yan. Obviously, these guys don't like each other whatsoever. TJ was talking a lot of crap during his time away from the sport, especially about the whole entire division, saying that everybody is pretty much just a pushover, that they're not really worth anything, they don't amount to anything next to him, and that he's the real champion, and that he was just taking a vacation, he was taking a rest, and now that he's back and he's ready to reclaim the belt. Petr Yan, on the other hand, thinks differently. He wants a fight. He wants the both of them to be locking their horns inside of that octagon as fast as possible, or as fast as TJ's knee can be able to get it together. Obviously, TJ did tear a ligament inside of his knee during his fight with Corey Sandhagen, and he did take a lot of damage during that fight against Corey Sandhagen. It was a 5-round back and forth slugfest, and TJ just looked like he was messed up at the end of the fight. He obviously wore a lot of the damage. You could see it on his face. You could see it all around his body because Corey was piecing him up left and right. The only issue that Corey had during that fight was the takedowns. Obviously, he did let up a good amount of takedowns during that fight. TJ Dillashaw just happens to be a former Division I wrestler in California. Division I wrestler. Not that many people know about that, because he tends to do a lot of his work on the feet, just like Petr Yan. Petr Yan is an absolute sniper. He used to be a boxer before transitioning into MMA, and it did him a lot of good because he does have a lot of finishes in his career, a lot of knockouts in his career, and a lot of these guys can't really be on the same pace as Petr Yan because he fights at a very high pace. He's very accurate, and he has a great amount of agility, just like TJ Dillashaw as well. TJ Dillashaw is credited with one of the best footwork that we've seen in the UFC next to Dominic Cruz, which is why a lot of people compare both the fighters because of their footwork. If you have great footwork, then you're going to have great striking. And if you have those two things together, it makes you into a very, very dangerous fighter. But Petr Yan also has very good footwork at the same time as well. And I do happen to believe that Petr Yan is the far superior striker than TJ Dillashaw. The thing with TJ is that he's a very strategic fighter. He's down to the point, very organized. You gotta credit that to Dwayne Lovewood, which happens to be one of the best MMA coaches in the world, even though he doesn't really coach as he used to, just because he owns his own business. He owns his own Muay Thai academy over in, I believe it's in Denver, Colorado, I believe, or Aurora, Denver, either one of those places. But he does have his own academy in Colorado, and that's basically where he trains. That's where he lives. That's where he trains his students and does all of his things. But not Corey, TJ has always been with them for the majority of his career, even when both of them were over at Team Alpha Male all those years ago, training with the likes of Uriah Faber, Cody Garbrandt, Danny Castillo, all that before both of them decided to exit the gym. So both those two are very close to one another, and there's a lot of success that goes behind that, which is why TJ was such a very successful fighter. Obviously, he's only lost to about 3 to 4 guys. He lost to Dominic Cruz, he lost to Henry Cejudo, he lost to Rafael Sansao, and he also lost to Josh Dodson, which was his very first loss in his career via knockout. I believe that was during the Ultimate Fighter Championship finale. And Jan's only lost to 2 guys. He's only lost to Aljamain because of that obnoxious knee that he threw for no apparent reason whatsoever. It was a bad coaching error on both the coaches' sides. Jan's side, because he had 2 coaches, and one told him to throw a knee while the other one told him not to. Bad communication, which led to that disqualification loss against Aljamain Sterling. And then his other loss was very, very early in his career against another Russian fighter who happens to be fighting in Bellator right now. Obviously, he's considered one of the best bantamweights in the Bellator bantamweight division. So obviously, 2 quality losses that Jan has had. But all in all, if these 2 fighters were to match up with one another, I believe it to be a very interesting matchup. And I believe it to be a high-paced matchup, definitely a lot of agility. There's definitely a lot of precision that's going to be used in a matchup like that if it were to come to fruition. And it just depends on who really wants it more, who really wants to walk out of there with the title, with the strap. If Jan is willing to defend his interim title that he possesses right now. He doesn't want to fight Aljamain Sterling because he doesn't believe that's the money fight. The main fight that everybody wants to see is him versus TJ Dillashaw. Both these guys are pretty much built the same. Both these guys pretty much have the same speed, same power, same agility, same accuracy. They have a lot of things in common, but someone's got to go. Someone's got to receive another L in their record, and someone's going to have to be knocked down the rankings a little bit. And if these guys do fight one another, it's definitely going to be high pace. It's definitely going to be very fast. And if I'm TJ, I'm going to look to take down Jan, but Jan has some very good wrestling defense and it's a very good wrestling offense at the same time. And his ground and pound is very, very nasty. He has had a couple of victories via ground and pound in the past, and he's not afraid to use it whatsoever. And he just gives you different types of looks. Obviously, he can hit you from different types of angles and sides. He can be able to knock you out in different ways. TJ, I feel that TJ, he just likes to overwhelm people with his volume. He also likes to overwhelm people with his awkward movement as well. He's one of the most awkward movers in the UFC when it comes to his footwork, and that's how he confuses a lot of his opponents. But Jan's the type of guy that really doesn't get phased by anything. He just goes with the flow, and he just acclimates to the environment as fast as possible, acclimates to possible bad situations that he is, and he turns it from bad situation to a good situation. And like I said, if this fight were to happen, I would have to take Jan because Jan has just been looking amazing lately. He was able to dispose of Corey Sandhagen pretty easily. He did drop that first round, but rounds 2 through 5 were all his. And TJ, on the other hand, obviously it was his first fight coming back after a 2-year layoff. He did have a good amount of ring rust, but he was able to shake off a good amount of that. And he did get that victory, even though I believe that he lost that fight. It is what it is. You never really leave your decisions up to the judges because the majority of the judges that judge UFC fights or MMA fights in general have never been inside the octagon before. They've never fought in before, so obviously it's a huge problem right there. But these guys really want to fight each other. These guys want to go at it. These guys have aspirations to become the undisputed bantamweight champion of the world, but they're eventually going to have to cross paths. I don't know if it's going to be next year or it's going to be in 2023 or whatever, but both these guys are definitely going to cross paths. I definitely see it. Obviously, Petr Yan's 28 and TJ Dillashaw is 35. So both these guys have plenty of time left to fight one another. And if they do, I believe it's going to be a main event on a pay-per-view or a main event on a fight night card, depending on if Petr Yan is the undisputed champion of the world. Obviously, he's going to be on a pay-per-view. If not, it's going to be on a fight night, depending if he still has the interim title or not when these two individuals meet in the near future. But, I like this beef that's going back and forth. I really do. And I think it just brings a lot of flavor. It brings a lot of hype going into the matchup when it does happen. And like I said, two different styles. When it comes to fights, when it comes to matchmaking, you want to pair up the styles that you think match up the best. And those two styles of fight that both these fighters possess are perfect for one another. And I believe that both these guys are going to go in there guns blazing. And it's going to be a very strategical fight through 5 rounds. And I can't say anyone's really going to get finished in this fight. I think it's going to be an unanimous decision win by Petr Yan because TJ Dillashaw is just extremely hard to get out of there. He really is. And he can really pay, he can make you pay for any type of bad decision that you make inside the octagon. You just got to ask Corey. He's going to ask Cody Garbrandt that twice, basically, because he did make bad decisions against TJ, and TJ was able to capitalize on it. And it's just the majority of the fighters, And if this fight were to go to the ground, it would be very interesting as well because I believe both their wrestling pedigrees would be canceling each other out right off the bat. So I don't think anyone will really be getting taken down, and if they do, they just get back on their feet as fast as possible, reset, meet in the middle, and do it all over again. So, it's definitely an interesting fight. It's definitely a great style of a great style of ideologies, a great matchup of fighting styles, a great matchup of two veterans that are willing to basically risk it all inside the octagon in order to get their hands raised and in order to take that status as the best in the world. And one of these days, it's definitely going to happen. I don't know when, most likely in 2023, end of 2023, around there. But actually, not 2023. I'm talking about most likely by the end of 2022, depending on the status and their health. But I don't know. Let me know, guys, if you guys like the matchup or not, if you guys really want to see it or not, because I think it's definitely a matchup that should happen in the very near future. And it definitely should happen, not only for us, but for the sport of mixed martial arts, because we're talking about two of the very best in the world, two of the very best in the history of the bantamweight division in the UFC, and also the history of the bantamweight division in general, no matter what organization we're talking about. I appreciate you guys for watching this video. Let me know if you guys want to see this fight happen or not, or do you guys have another idea of who Jan should face next if the current champion Aljamain Sterling is still milking injuries and is still being injured. So appreciate you guys for watching the video. Stay safe, stay blessed, take it easy, guys.